Welcome back to the channel, and today we finally get to take a look at the full Chilling Reign set as released in the UK or outside of Japan basically. This list is on pokebeach.com, so if you do want to check that out, I will leave the link below. Always a great place for Pokemon information and news, and that's what we're using today, so shout out to those guys. Finally, we've got a list on what we're missing and what we're getting in the set. So let's take a look at it, because we do want to break down what's useful in terms of for collectors, but mainly this is going to be for playable cards, what's going to be used in the meta game, what's going to be useful in tournaments. So if you're a player, this is the video for you. Obviously that does have some effect on how valuable a card is as well, so collectors, stick around as well. So let's take a look. We are going to go through all the cards, so I will leave timestamps down below, so if there's particular cards you want to see, jump ahead to those, that's fine. We are going to go through them all just in case there's any hidden gems or anything I think you should be looking out for. It's worth noting, it has been said we are missing 55 cards, which Japan had, we won't have. It's a mixture of stuff like the Gengar and Inteleon, which we have seen previewed is going to end up in other sets possibly. And then we've got Rapidash, which we got in V-Boxes. A few secret rares, which I wish we hadn't missed out on. But let's take a look at exactly what we're going to get. So obviously we've got the Weedle in first. It is what it is. It's a Weedle. It doesn't do anything particularly interesting, although something to note, it is a single strike Pokemon. Single strike at the minute, along with rapid strike, is a heavy focus in the Pokemon game. So having this kind of Pokemon, obviously it's going to be evolving into Beedrill if you do use it. So let's take a look at what exactly this evolution does. Basically, it can stiffen and take 40 less damage as Kakuna with 80 health. That's slightly less than I would like. 130 is sort of the range, obviously with Dragapult and stuff. And unfortunately for Beedrill as well, his HP is 130, which is just slightly too low for me. He's got a little bit of energy hate, removing special energies. Oh no, hold on. Let's just read that fully. If your opponent's active Pokemon has any energy attached, it is now knocked out. That seems very good. I'm trying to think if there's any cards where you can force your opponent to attach energy. I don't think there is. If they don't play, obviously if they don't play it, this is just a waste. It's a waste stage 2. It's kind of a toss-up. You could get, there are a lot of cards. There's single strike energy, there's rapid strike. Some of the energies used are going away. Horror energy is another good one for Dragapult decks. I do think in the current game, we're going to move more away from special energy, so I don't think this Beedrill is really usable. It's a super cool attack for 1 grass as well. Very interesting. I would love to see the deck do well, but I just don't think it's the right time for it. Then moving on from that, we've got Ladybur and Ladian. 100 damage. It is what it is. You're not going to see this card. It's quite dull. Heracross, let's see what he does. Big fan of the Pokemon, so he's got 120 HP, which is okay. That's not bad. Flip 2 coins. If both are heads, it does 160 more damage. So it currently does 40 damage, which 160 more is 200 damage. For 2 energy is pretty good. You're flipping coins. This deck would be based on luck. It is a basic Pokemon, so it's single strike again. So you could just tech it into decks, which could be interesting. You do need to run Glimwood Tangle to even have a chance of this working. Honestly, it's not the worst attack in the world, but it is far from the best. But here's the good stuff. We finally get to some V Pokemon. So to start with, we've got Celebi V. Obviously a grass Pokemon, 190 HP. It's okay. It's pretty good. So we've got Leaf Dance. Attach any number of grass energy from your hand to your Pokemon in any way you like. The problem with this is getting grass energy into your hand. We don't have stuff like Professor's Letter. Any cards like that which let you fill your hand with energy. So this is kind of, yeah, currently I don't think this is good enough. Slashback does 60. Switch it with one of your bench Pokemon. Again, 60 damage I don't think is high enough to be using that mechanic. I know we have seen lower with Donphan, but he also had Muscle Band at the time. We had the Fighting Energy, which gave him another 20. And then there was a Stadium, which did the same. There was a ton of cards that just piled up to make it more powerful. Where this one, I don't think Grass really has that. It's not single strike, it's not rapid, it's got no support, so I can't see Celebi V being any good, honestly. Maybe Celebi Vmax? So it's got 310 health, which is on the lower side for a Vmax, but that's fine. It's got ability Healing Forest. Once during your turn, you may heal 20 damage from each of your grass Pokemon. So that's kind of useful. I think this could be a tech in a grass deck. You're not necessarily going to use it to attack with, but it is a good ability. Then obviously we've got Max Plant, 130 damage. Search your deck for up to 2 Pokemon and put them into your hand, then shuffle your deck. With Judge coming back and with Marnie being so popular at the minute, I just can't see this card being used. It's unfortunate because I love Celebi as a Pokemon, but realistically, you're not going to go to a tournament and see this card. It might be attacking grass decks, but that is as far as it goes, I think, which is, yeah, it's kind of unfortunate. Then we've got Snova and Abomasnow. Whap down as Snova's attack. Abomasnow, so ability, toughness up. As long as this Pokemon is in play, the maximum HP of your single strike Pokemon in play, excluding Abomasnow, I should say, is increased by 50. You can't apply more than one toughness up ability at a time. The single strike Urshifu is pretty powerful right now. Tyranitar is another good version. There are a few single strike Pokemon, and hopefully we'll be getting more in this set and the upcoming sets. 50 HP extra is nothing to turn your nose at. You've got 50 HP from this. Giant Charm, give you another 30. You can really start to add enough health to make it where your opponent, instead of taking 1 hit or 2 hit KOs, then has to take 3, possibly 4. It could change a game, honestly. It's just finding the right deck for this. It is going to come massively down to the current meta game as well. So if stuff's getting 1 hit, 50 HP is probably not going to save it. If it's the kind of game where it's 2 or 3 hits, then I think it could make a massive difference. Dealing and Swordsbook, 3 energy for 80 plus 80. It's good damage, but there's no way this is going to see any play. Same with these. Again, just throw away cards in the deck. Maybe Serena? I'm not even sure how to say that Pokemon. So it does, for 2 colorless, 10 plus damage. This attack does 50 more damage for each energy in the retreat cost of your opponent's active. It's a stage 2. So immediately that makes me not want to bother with this Pokemon, unfortunately. Its HP is good, 140 is good. I think that's just out of range of knockout of most stuff. You can play Galar Mine, you can play other things. I just don't think it's quite powerful enough to warrant a deck. It is a 1 prize attacker, so you could pair it up with, I think Leafeon V and Vmax come in, does a very similar thing. So it could just be a cheaper attacker in that deck. Honestly, I don't think we're going to see it, but I do like that they're trying to add stuff to like Galar Mine and make these kind of decks viable. So thumbs up for this Pokemon. I don't think it's particularly useful, but I'm glad they are trying. Then obviously we got the Grookey gang. So Grookey is obviously not going to do too much. It is worth noting they are Rapid Strike Pokemon, so that is a massive plus for me. The Thwackey does discard cards from your opponent's hand, which it only does 30 damage, but I do actually kind of like that attack. It's also got 100 HP, which is great. Rillaboom itself has 180, so it is slightly more powerful than other versions. And it does heal from its attack, but I can't really see you using this. Let's take a look at Surge and Beat. So 120 plus damage. You may discard any number of energy cards attached to your Pokemon in play. If you do, this attack does 30 more for each discarded in this way. Now you need 3 to attach, and then you need more in play. I don't know how viable this is. It's still going to be a 2-turn knockout on any Pokemon, unless you get rid of like all of your energy, but then you have to somehow get it back. You can use recycles and stuff, but I don't think it's reliable or consistent enough of an attacker, which is unfortunate because it does have Rapid Strike going for it, but I can't see you using this one. Maybe a Tekov in Rillaboom decks, but otherwise just not a chance. I do like that we have Grookey and Thwackey as Rapid Strike, because we can use consistency cards from Rapid Strike like Octillery to search these out in Rillaboom decks, so it does make them slightly more viable. But other than that, this line doesn't really do much for me. Now Zarude, he's got the Clan Summoning Song. Search your deck for a grass Pokemon, reveal it and put it into your hand. Then shuffle your deck. If you go second on your first turn, you may search up to 3 instead. It's not bad for setup. I would rather they went to the bench. If they went to the bench, this would be a fantastic card. Because they go to your hand, yeah, I'm not really sure about this one. Not too exciting. Again, it's 130 HP, so it's perfect prime knockout range for like a Dragapult or something. So we're just going to skip on to our next V and VMAX, Blaziken. So high jump kick does 50, not that interesting. It is double colorless, so it could potentially go in decks. I'm not sure what deck would run it. And then Fire Spin for 2 fire and 2 colorless does 210 damage. Discard 2 energy from this Pokemon. 210 is kind of an awkward amount. It's with stuff like Tag Team and GX Pokemon rotating, it's not really going to get those knockouts you need. I don't think it's quite high enough. The discard energy is not good. We are losing Welder as well. So yeah, it's a pass on Blaziken V for me. VMAX though, let's see what it says. So it's got Clutch, 60 damage, and you can't retreat. It's okay. It's not anything to build a deck around. But then the VMAX again for double colorless, so you could actually take this into decks. Max Blaze, 130 damage. Attach an energy card from your discard pile to up to 2 of your benched Rapid Strike Pokemon. So again, these are Rapid Strike Pokemon, so they fit perfectly into a deck. It gives you a little recovery in the late game, so you could take this into Urshifu. It gives you another attacker, it gives you a fire attacker. It's colorless and it says any type of energy, so you could still use your fighting energy onto the bench. Urshifu, for example. I don't know, I might be giving this too much credit, but I actually do kind of like it. 130 damage is okay as well, especially as it's more of a setup, so 130 damage on top of the setup is kind of good. You could even potentially run stuff to discard energy and then use Blaziken to set up. For example, the top of my head, the Galarian Articuno coming out, which we will look at, discards a card, then discards 2 cards, and then you can draw 1. So you could discard 2 energy, then use this attack to start powering up your bench. So you could basically get 3 energy into play a turn. You could then use stuff like Rose. I don't know, there might be something to discard an energy and speeding decks up that way. So I do actually really like this Blaziken. I'm a massive fan of the Pokemon as well, so that does help. But I am going to give this Blaziken a thumbs up. I'm probably being far too generous to it and it won't see any play. It's a thumbs up from me. Next up, we've got Castform, Sunny Form. So I'm guessing we're going to get a few different ones of these. It's got the ability Forecast. If you have 8 or more Stadium cards in your discard pile, ignore all energy in the attack cost of each of this Pokemon's attacks. Okay, so let's see what it does. Anti-Cyclone Blast, 150 damage. You must discard a Stadium card in play in order to use its attack. Okay, so we need 9 Stadium cards just to make this viable. The deck playing this is going to be so inconsistent. This might be the worst card I've ever seen. I really hope we don't see any decks from this. There is nothing good about that card. We're just going to skip all of the cast forms. I don't like the Pokemon anyway, so we're just going to skip past them from now on. Let's have a look what we got here. We got Larvesta and Volcarona, one of my favourite Pokemon. I'm a huge fan of Mothra from like Godzilla, so any kind of Moth Pokemon is always good. Unfortunately, this one is just terrible. 170 discard 2 energy for 3 attachments is not worth it. Especially with Welder going. Again, 130 HP, nothing special about that one. Hopefully Volcanion V can save us, so let's take a look at what he does. He is a single strike Pokemon. He does 50 damage for a fire and colorless, which is, it's okay. It's nothing special. Dynamite Tackle though does 100 damage. If this Pokemon has 10 damage counters on it or more, this attack does 150 more. The problem here is he's got 220 HP, So that's half of his HP. I don't know anything that really hits around that. Maybe against Dragapult is good, but even then, it's not taking a one-hit KO. So I think I don't know, the price trade here might not be great. Even something hitting less like a Dragapult is going to take a knockout before this can. Obviously, it's worth 2 prizes instead of 3, but it's also 3 attachments. There is no way this is going to see any play. You can use stuff to power it up, but I just can't see it happening. But here we go, Scorbunny, one of my favorite Pokemon from the latest gen. Reboot and Cinderace are okay. Let's take a look at what those do. Those do though, Jesus. Single strike again, so that's always good. Cinderace has the ability Crisis Power. This Pokemon's attacks do 30 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon for each prize card your opponent has already taken. Okay, so he does 150 damage. This Pokemon can't attack during your next turn. That's never been an issue. Zacian's thrived. You can just rotate out. You can switch just to get rid of the effect. So 150 damage. Let's say, realistically, they could knock out a Vmax and then they could knock out a GX or a Crobat or something. So it's not unrealistic to be 5 prizes down. That would be 300 damage. You would need some single strike stuff just to power it up slightly more because that is just missing knockout range, which is kind of unfortunate. If it was 40 more damage, I think it would be a lot more interesting. But as it is, I think it's almost bait at this point. It's kind of luring you into using it. I just don't think it will see much play. Although saying that, if it's coming to the end game, they're not necessarily going to be full health. So this could actually be quite useful. I'm going to give it a thumbs down. I would love to see it in play. Like I said, Scorbunny, one of my favorite starter Pokemon, one of my favorite from this gen. But yeah, not a great fan of this. We will see though. I could be wrong. Next up, we've got Lapras, which is 110 HP, not high enough. Search your deck for up to 2 Melanie cards. Reveal them, put them in your hand, then shuffle your deck. I can't see that being used. Icy Wind, 50 damage, asleep. Sneasel, again, despite being a Rapid Strike Pokemon, he's flipping a coin to discard an energy and does no damage. Hopefully Weavile can do one better because Weavile is one of my favourite Pokemon. I seem to say that about a lot of Pokemon in this set, which is why I have got the pre-release kits come in, but also a booster box, so make sure you are subscribed if you want to see some of that good stuff. Because I will be doing sort of like a how-to video for pre-release events, so if you've not been before, might be helpful to you. Let's take a look at Weavile right now. He's got 2-hit KO. If the defending Pokemon takes damage from one of your Rapid Strike Pokemon during your next turn, it is knocked out. Now the problem here is if they switch and then come back into the active, the effect is gone. Or would they have to switch to Weavile? I think they would have to switch themselves. So I don't really like it. If it was the other way around, it would be slightly more playable. But even stuff like Boss's Orders can get around it. Then we've just got the consistency of Nasty Plot. Search your deck for up to 2 cards, put them into your hand, then shuffle your deck. That is actually okay for a tech in a water deck, but it is obviously using your attack for the turn, so it is not ideal. Delibird lets you search out cards, but you have to put him back into your deck, and then it ends your turn. It's good to get a card, but again, it's one of those things. It's a good consistency card, I will say that. If it was Rapid Strike, I'd be more of a fan, because it is a double colorless attack. So as it is, we're just gonna... I think we're gonna have to skip that one. There's the cast form. We're just gonna skip right past those. So it does 120. So some of the other ones are better. It does 20 to each of your opponent's Pokemon, but it is 8 stadiums, so let's keep on moving. Let's take a look at Frostlast, a cool looking Pokemon. It is Ghost type as well, so I do quite like it. The ability Snowfall says, once during your turn, when you play this card from your hand to evolve a Pokemon, you may search your discard pile for a water energy and attach it to one of your Pokemon. So we do have Scoop Up Net, so we can reuse this. We won't be attacking with it, but for its ability, it kind of makes me want to try decks that don't rely on Frostmoth, Then again, it's stage 1, so Frostmoth is just a better version of this. There is no way around that. So it's kind of hard really to say this is a great card. I do think it's interesting, and with how rotation works out, I think this will last a year longer than Frostmoth, so it could see some play then. I just don't think it's going to now. Nothing really special from Spheal or Celia. Walrein does 160, discards energy, and can paralyze. It's a lot of attachments for not a lot of... If it was rapid or single, I would maybe look at this card because it's got 170 HP. It does paralyze. It does a lot of damage. It will take 2 hit knockouts, but yeah, I can't see this being any use. We do have Tapufini, so it's a rapid strike Pokemon. And for 2 water and a colorless, Ocean Loop does 120. Return an energy from this Pokemon to your hand. It's underwhelming. I was hoping that would be a little more powerful, but I can see coming up we've got Sobble and Inteleon. Rapid strike. So we're actually going to look at Sobble first because it has got continuous call for 1 colorless. Search your deck for up to 3 rapid strike basic Pokemon and put them onto your bench. That is an incredible attack, especially to start the game. It is colorless, so it could be dropped into any deck as well. I'm super interested in that card. Let's see what the other ones do. So Inteleon. Its ability, Quick Shooter. Once during your turn, you may place 2 damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon. This is a very, very good ability. It's going to be used with stuff like Dragapult, Inteleon Vmax. I would expect to see this card in the metagame for sure. The fact that it's a rapid strike, I do think we're more likely to see it with something like a rapid strike Urshifu, which I'm going to actually try this deck with. The fact that we can continuous call using fighting energy to set up is super good as well. This is an interesting card, and I think it's one that we might see, especially because the Shady Deals Inteleon is usable as well, so you could use a couple of them, a couple of these. I think those kind of decks could be interesting. So I'm giving this a thumbs up for sure. Hopefully we do see it. I'm sure I've already seen that it's had some impact. But I do think we will see more from this card for sure. But now we are getting to the big stuff. So we've got Ice Rider Calirex V, the flagship Pokemon for this generation and this set. For 1 water, it can do 40, which is meh. For 2 water and they're colorless, it can do Glacial Lance, which does 200 damage. You do have to discard 2 energy, so again, I can't imagine us ever using this attack, but I can imagine us using this Vmax. So for 2 colorless, so it can be splashed into other decks, it is 10 plus damage. This attack does 30 more damage for each of your opponent's benched Pokemon. Now, thinking of the current format, there's going to be a ton of Crobats on benches. There is stuff like Eternatus, which this will absolutely destroy. For 2 colorless energy, it can do, let's say you're 8 bench, so that's 240, 250 damage to an Eternatus, which is absolutely bonkers. For 2 attachments, it's so powerful. But if you do play 2 water, you can do Max Lance instead, which is 10 plus damage. You must discard up to 2 energies from this Pokemon. If you do, this attack does 120 more damage for each energy card discarded in this way. So again, it's another way to do 250. Slightly more reliable than the first way, but this is a super powerful card. The fact that you can choose how many to discard, you could do 130, then next turn the 250 to take a knockout on any Pokemon in the game, with Max Charm included. This is not Max Charm, Big Charm, Giant Charm. I think it's Giant Charm. Neither here nor there. This is a super, super powerful card. I would expect to see this somewhere at the top, maybe first, maybe second, third of the decks in the metagame. This is one to watch out for, so if you pull this one, make sure you know what it's worth, because I imagine it's going to go, not only because it's its first appearance, but it's a super usable card, and it's got some super cool art in secret rare form. We are just going to jump past this. There is an Ampharos line. It is 90 plus if there's energy in your opponent's hand, 90 more, which for 2 attachments is really good, but I can't see a deck being built around it. We do also have Rapid Strike Zeb Striker. So, 30 plus damage. If any of your other Rapid Strike Pokemon use an attack during your last turn, this does 90 more. Not really usable. And then we've got a coin flip, so we're just going to skip past that as well. We do come to another V Pokemon, so we got Zeraora, which does Cross Fist, which for a Lightning and 2 colorless does 100 damage. If any of your other Rapid Strike Pokemon used an attack, it does 161 to one of your bench Pokemon, your opponent's bench Pokemon, sorry. If you can pull this off, it's going to be super powerful. My only thing is, can you really pull it off? When you rely on to do something next turn, I'm never a fan of that type of card. It comes down to your opponent rather than you at that point, and I never want to put my win condition in my opponent's hand, honestly. So this one is a thumbs down for me. I can't see it being used. Let me know in the comments if you think otherwise. Always happy to hear counterpoints. Oh, we have got a Gengar line. Let's see what it does. Obviously, you can see, where is he on the screen? Here? There is a Gengar. My favorite Pokemon. He's got the ability Dying Gift. When this Pokemon is knocked out by damage from an opponent's attack, you may search your deck for up to 2 cards and put them into your hand. Actually not terrible, because it's when it's knocked out, it will be coming into your turn, so you can set up pretty much anything. This is basically a Rosa, almost. But let's see what its attack does. For 3 colorless Pain Burst, 10 plus damage. This attack does 40 more damage for each damage counter on your opponent's active Pokemon. Now, don't let the channel biased here play into this one. I think this might be a good card. Now, obviously, it's going to deal with stuff like Urshifu. The fact that it is colorless attacks means it can be splashed into decks. The only thing going against it is that it's obviously a stage 2 and the amount of energy. I think the decks that struggle with Urshifu do have stuff like Boltund to speed up energy, so I don't think it's that bad. The ability is incredible. The attack is pretty good. I think there is just probably too many things drawing it back. I am going to give it a thumbs up because I do think there is some potential, maybe, depending what comes out. Yeah, it's kind of a tough one. I think my bias is playing into this slightly, and we potentially won't see this card. I hope we do, but probably not. But now we get to one of my favorite cards from this set, mainly because of the Pokemon, but I also have got a few sneaky techs for it coming up in decks, which if you're looking for Chilling Reign deck profiles, make sure you subscribe because I have got a ton planned. But its ability, Psychic Construct, says, once during your turn, you may discard 2 cards from your hand. If you do, draw 1. Now, okay, that sounds awful, and it kind of is, but I've been playing around with Rose quite a lot. I think because of stuff like Welder leaving and other things making it more difficult to accelerate energy, Psychic is in a super good place with Shadow Rider Calirex, which lets you attach from your hand or discard. We will come to it eventually anyway, so we'll go through it properly. And then this guy letting you discard potentially your energies, so you could then Rose or Shadow Rider. I do think this is a massive consistency card for Psychic decks, for Dragapults, for Shadow Riders. So I do think this is going to see a ton of play. And I do think, I've not seen a lot of hype for this card. I do think it is being slept on slightly, because not only can you put stuff in the discard which you want in there, but you can also draw cards off it as well. This gets a massive thumbs up from me, and this is going to be my big prediction from this one. This card is going to be the most underrated card in the set. I am putting my name to that, unfortunately, so fingers crossed it comes true. We do also have a Gardevoir line, which it does have a Curlier, which you can use 1 attachment and it lets you put 3 Curliers on your bench. So I'm going to be honest, that's super consistent. You kind of skip the Rolt step, which is huge. Obviously, you still need to play 4, but it does mean you can get consistently Gardevoirs into play. So let's take a look at the Gardevoir. Is it worth doing? So it's got the ability Arcana Shine. Once during your turn, you may look at the top 2 cards of your deck. Choose any number of basic energy you find there and attach them to your Pokemon in any way you like. Put the other cards into your hand, so you're still getting the extra cards even if you don't use them as energy, which is super good. And then it's got Brainwave for 3 colorless. It is 60 plus damage. This attack does 30 more for each Psychic attached to this Pokemon. Now, if it was attached to all of your Pokemon, I could see this being a rogue deck, honestly. And I still aren't, I'm not counting it out by any means. I do think it is super powerful. I think Metal takes a massive hit in the upcoming rotation. So I do think it's more realistic that we could see this card. I think it's just slightly restricted from how it deals damage. It's a super cool ability. Celia is super powerful, helping you bench 3 of them. So you can pretty much get all your Gardevoirs set up very easily. But yeah, I do think it's restricted slightly by its damage. Then we've got a Shuppet and a Banette. So let's see what this does. 20 times damage, put up to 7 damage counters on this Pokemon. It does 20 for each you place that way. It is single strike, so there is support for it. So it can do 140 for 1 Psychic. That's honestly pretty good. I could see this being teched into single strike decks. It's not powerful enough to carry a deck on its own. 140 is good though, especially for 1 Psychic, but they're obviously going to take a knockout next turn. It's not bad. It's okay. Yeah, I can't really say much more than that. It's an okay card. We've then got Cresselia, which is also a promo card. I think it does the same thing. It's got Crescent Growth, which is very similar to the Volcanion, which we had before with Flamestarter, I think it was called. Search your deck for a Psychic energy and attach it to one of your Pokemon, which is always good, but then you shuffle your deck. If you go second, which is important, on your first turn, you may attach up to 3. So it does change where you want to go with Psychic decks. But we've seen how powerful it is for fire decks and how quickly they can get set up using this ability, or attack I should say. So I do think this is going to be a huge card. This is a massive thumbs up from me. And then similar to its attack, the Volcanion, this does slightly more damage, but you do need more energy in play, so it's sort of a trade-off. So yeah, this is a super good card. If you get it as a promo card, I would suggest holding on to it. If you're going to play Psychic deck, Shadow Rider, Dragapult, any of that, you absolutely need this card. I'm going to be taking 2 or 3 into mine. You even need to go fully in with it with like 3 versions. I don't think it's worth playing 1 because you do really want it on your first turn. Could potentially search out and switch into it, but I would say 2 or 3 is ideal. Also importantly, it gives Psychic decks that 1 prize attacker just to take trades easier. So I do think this is going to see a ton of play. We have got Golurk. Nothing to write home about on that one. We've got a Slurpuff, which lets you put stuff from your discard into your hand. That's a miss. Malamar, let's take a look. So it is 40 times damage. You may reveal as many Rapid Strike cards from your hand as you like. This attack does 40 times the number of cards you revealed. Then shuffle those cards into your deck. What? That's terrible. If it didn't have that last part, it would be possibly a good deck, but the fact you have to shuffle them into your deck afterwards, not a chance. I know it's 1 energy. Maybe it's Rapid Strike as well. I feel like this card is another one of those traps. I am going to give it one of these. It's middle ground. I don't know. I don't think it's going to be any good. We've also got Hatarini. So, ability, Witch's Sonata. Once during your turn, you may switch your active Pokemon with one of your bench Pokemon. Then have your opponent switch their active. Okay, so it's basically Escape Rope. That's a really good ability. Psychic, 30 plus damage. You need 2 colorless for this one. This attack does 50 more damage for each energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon. Realistically, 2 or 3 energy attackers normally. So let's say 3 attackers. So 150, 180. For 2 energy, that's a really good attack. There is decks that needs more energy as well. There's a lot of water decks with Frostmoth. Actually, a really good attack. I would like it to be a single or Rapid Strike again, just for consistency, because it is a stage 2. But I do think that's actually quite usable, especially because it's got the Escape Rope effect, which is going to be huge. There's so many stuff in this set in particular. which relies on having the same Pokemon in the active and setting up for a second turn attack. So this is absolutely huge. Counters all of that if we see any of that in play. I'm going to give this one a thumbs up. I do think it's going to... I would love to see it see some play. It's stage 2 and it's a little difficult to get going. Ability is the only way we see it in play, really. But we do now get to the big ones. Shadow, Rider Calirex V, and Vmax. So V, for a Psychic Energy, does Shadow Mist, which does 10 damage. Your opponent can't play any Special Energy or Stadiums from their hand. I actually don't mind this. If you know they play Special Energy or need a Stadium, this is actually a really good start to your game. It only does 10 damage, but the denial is worth it. Just while you set up, so the first turn or two. You don't really want to be using it after that because you are losing a lot of damage. Astral Barrage does 5 damage counters on 2, so it does 100 damage basically for 3 colorless. Don't use that attack. Evolve it to Vmax. Let's take a look at this. So its ability, Underworld Door. Once during your turn, you may attach a Psychic Energy from your hand to one of your bench Pokemon, then draw 2 cards. Okay, so it is from your hand, so that's more acceleration for Psychic Pokemon. You could potentially attach, then use this ability, draw into like a rose, and then attach 2 from your discard. So this could be, well, it could be, this is going to be the resurgence for Psychic decks. And as a Dragapult player, I am very happy to see this. I will be playing probably a 2-2 line in my Dragapult. Not to give away my deck idea coming up. Obviously, I've said Articuno as well, so there is a few different techs in there. But Max Geist. It is 10 plus damage. This attack does 30 more damage for each Psychic Energy attached to your Pokemon in play. So like I said before with Hatarini, I think it was. This does it for every Pokemon in play rather than just your Pokemon. No, it wasn't Hatarini. Irrelevant who it was. This is a better version. It's obviously Vmax as well, so it's got 320 HP. It's got that incredible ability. This is probably, for me, I think the best card in the set. You could argue the other Calyrex, the Ice Rider. I would personally say this one. Let me know in the comments below, between you guys, who you think the best Calyrex is. Personally, I'm going to go for this one. I do like Dragapult, so that does help. But also, Fire is taking a massive hit, so we're not going to see it as much. Psychic is a much more valuable weakness to hit on, so like Urshifus and stuff. Although it is weak to Darkness, so that does mean Eternatus is going to get a big boost. But then you've got the other Calyrex giving Eternatus a bad time, so it's going to be sort of rock, paper, scissors on who wins this one. Then we've got a Dugtrio, again, not really usable. We have a Galarian Surfetched. Again, not going to see any play, unfortunately. Obviously, a change of clothes, a new day. We are still looking at the set. I've sort of taken a break in between because there is 133 cards. We are on 80 currently, and possibly one of the best of the set. So we've got Galarian Zapdos V, which has the ability Fighting Instinct. For each Pokemon V your opponent has in play, this Pokemon's attacks cost one colorless less. Colorless less. Yeah, that's right. That's a mouthful. It does the attack Thunderclap Kick, which normally does 170 for 4 energy attachments, which is never going to happen. But obviously using its ability, we can get that down to 1 attachment. 1 fighting energy for 170 is very good. But before damage, discard a special energy from your opponent's active Pokemon. So it's not just 170 damage for 1 energy. You also discard any special energy. And this, combined with other things, is why I think the current game is going to have next to no special energy in it. Obviously, stuff like Urshifu need Rapid Strike or Single Strike, depending on the variation. So I do think we'll see a drop in play from Urshifus. And this is probably going to be the new Fighting King, honestly. It's just going to be... It can one-shot anything it hits for weakness or two-shot anything else, which is massively important. So I am very interested to see how this plays. You can play around its ability, but the point you stop dropping Crobats or Cricketune or anything you need for your strategy to stop this, you start losing yourself. It either hits you and knocks you out, or you don't play your game or your strategy properly, and it wins that way. It really is a great combination of attack and ability, this one, and one of the best cards in the set. Next up, going with the line we saw earlier with Celia and Roltz, we've got Glade. Fighting type for 170 HP, pretty good. It does still use Psychic Energy, so playing a Gardevoir deck, you can have a few different attack options, a few different weakness options, and then it's got 2 colorless Dynablade. This attack does 60 damage times the number of your opponent's Pokemon V in play. So potentially you could get up to 6, which is 360, or 300 for 5, which is more realistic. You can drop stuff like Vitality Band to get those free 10 knockouts. Maybe you play this with something like a Galarian Zigzagoon just to reach those amounts you need, because it is just off where you need to be. But for 2 colorless and a stage 2, that is a super powerful attack. Going off this and the current Gardevoir we've seen, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw some of these decks. It's got good types, so it's got Psychic and Fighting, which is currently what you need. Obviously, Fighting deals with the Darkness types, and Psychic beats other Psychic types, depending who they are, obviously. Next up, we've got Galarian Runerigus. So, its ability says Spiteful Lithograph. If this Pokemon is in your active spot and damaged by an opponent's attack from a Vmax, even if this Pokemon is knocked out, put damage counters on the attacking Pokemon equal to the damage done to this Pokemon. Let's have a look at its attack. That's not a great ability, honestly. Energy Press does 60 plus damage. This attack does 20 more damage for each energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon. Most Pokemon currently used in the metagame use 2 energy, so I don't really see this being that powerful of an attack. It can do 180, so it could 2-hit knockout most Vmaxes, but for 3 energy and a less than stellar ability, I'm not really sure about this one. It's a middle ground for me, because obviously returning the damage to them is great, and it does it regardless of if you're knocked out or not, which is even better. But we shall see with this one. I'm not really sure. That combined with the attack, I'm going to give it a thumbs up, actually, because it is colorless. It could potentially be used in a whole host of decks. Here we go, Lycanroc. 80 plus damage. This attack does 10 more for each single strike Pokemon in your discard pile. Now, the fact it only does 10 more means you can probably get 2-hit knockouts. 20 more would have probably made this a viable deck. I think 10 more is a little difficult, just how difficult it is to get them into the discard. Like I said, we do have Galarian Articuno come in, which does help, but yeah, I think this one's a little underpowered for what they were going for. Then next up, we've got Passimian, which is one of the promo cards along with Cresselia, Cinderace, and Inteleon. So he's got the ability Throwing Coach. All of your Rapid Strike Pokemon's attacks do 30 more damage to your opponent's bench Pokemon V and Pokemon GX. You can't use more than one Throwing Coach ability at a time. So when your Urshifu's doing 120 to 2 Pokemon, you can now do 150. Using the telescopic sight, you could do 180, so that is a knockout on pretty much anything. Wow, I say pretty much anything. I mean, specifically Crobats, Kirkatunes, Dedennes. Dedenne will be rotating with other GX Pokemon, so I don't know why that's in there. I guess for expanded. It's a super powerful ability. If you're playing any kind of Rapid Strike Pokemon that deals damage to the bench, this is going to be a must-have in your deck. So this is going to be one sought after, especially the promo version. So if you do get one of these, make sure you hold on to it. Then we've got Sandaconda V and Vmax. So we'll look at the V first. It says Ability Sand Barricade. This Pokemon takes 30 less damage from attacks. That's kind of good. Put stuff like a Hard Charm on it. 50 less. Sandaconda Vmax though says, for fighting, you can do Sand Pulse for 60 damage. This attack also does 20 to each of your opponent's bench Pokemon. That's a good spread of damage for one attachment. 320 HP is good. Then it's got Gmax Cyclone, 180 damage. Move any number of energy from your Pokemon to your other Pokemon in any way you like. I do actually kind of like this because you can potentially, when you're about to get knocked out, move all energy off onto a second Sandaconda. Maybe leave one on this so you can Sand Pulse next turn. And it's just a good way to keep energy in play. I actually really like that, and it's a 2-hit knockout on every Pokemon. We may see this Pokemon played. I'm going to give it a thumbs up because I do think it's a good one, but we shall see just how good it ends up. Then we've got Grapploct. Ability Grappling Master. If this Pokemon is your active Pokemon, your opponent's active Pokemon's retreat cost is increased by 2. Now, if this didn't have to be active, I would actually say this card might be the saving grace for stuff like Leafeon VMAX, which needs to up their retreat cost. As it is, this is, yeah, it's not very good. We used to have the Absol, which did it from the bench for 1. This is a stage 1 though, so it should be for 2. But it's not, you have to be active. Terrible card, not going to be played. Hopefully not going to be played anyway. The attack is awful. You've got to try and line up the same amount of cards as your opponent for 3 energy. Just not a fan of that one. We're just going to skip past him. Let's take a look at Wheezing, because he can normally do some good stuff. So he's got Blend Toxin. Your opponent's active Pokemon is now confused. Attach a Darkness Energy from your discard pile to this Pokemon. That's okay. Then he's got Smog Burst, 20 plus damage. This attack does 20 more damage for each Darkness Energy attached to your Pokemon in play. Actually not bad. It's 20 plus as well, which is good. I can't see this really being used. It might be attacking some Darkness decks just to deal with Decidueyes or take 1 prize knockouts. But there is a Galarian Wheezing as well, which says Energy Factory as an ability. Each basic Dark Energy attached to your Pokemon with Wheezing in its name provides 2 Darkness Energy. You can't apply more than 1 Energy Factor ability at a time. Now this is kind of difficult because you're going to have to run a few copies of each of these. I'd have preferred if they were different Pokemon that combined into a deck. As it is, it could definitely still work. You don't obviously need as many Coffins or basic Pokemon to get this going. You can run 4 Coffins and then 2 of each maybe. Maybe 3 of the actual attacking Wheezing. I do think there might be something to this. The fact that you can get energy back using your Blend Toxin and the fact that any energy attached counts as double. I could see the Smog Burst stacking up to quite a powerful attack. It's definitely not going to be like a top deck, but I think it could be a fun rogue one, which we try here on the channel. Let's skip on to Gallerium Moltres V. So, ability Bolstered Wings. Once during your turn, you may attach a Darkness Energy from your discard pile to this Pokemon. You can't use more than 1 Bolstered Wings ability per turn, so this could this could combine with Galarian Wheezing and regular Wheezing to make that deck work and get more energy in play. So the tactic could be to discard all your energy and then get it back via Moltres and Wheezing. The more I think about it, the more that deck could be a thing. There are a few things that work for it. Again, you could use the Articuno to discard energy. Could be interesting. Its attack is 190 and it does 30 to itself. Nobody's going to be using the attack. If Moltres is in your deck, it's probably for its ability. Next up, we've got Galarian Slowking, which says ability Secret Medicine. Once during your turn, you may choose one of your Pokemon. Flip a coin. If heads, restore 90. If tails, place 3 damage on it. For VMAXs that can afford having 3 extra damage, that's okay. I think for regular Pokemon or stage 1 or stage 2, that's just not realistic. Especially if you need to heal 90, you're probably not going to want to add another 3. You can play stuff like Glimwood Tangle to make it a little easier. Or does that say attack specifically? I'd have to read the card. This is kind of dangerous. It's like sort of like a mad scientist type vibe. I do like it, but I'm not sure how realistic it is going to be to use it really. You don't want to rely on a coin flip, especially on a stage 1. Then we've got Galarian Slowking V. So for 1 colorless, he does mixing. Discard a card from your hand, then draw 3. That's pretty good. Not for an attack though. Obviously you got ability like Gourmandize. Compared to this, it's just, there's no comparison. And then he's got Doom Word. The defending Pokemon is knocked out at the end of your opponent's next turn. This is one of those things where you have to wait and make sure they don't do anything. I think potentially this could be used in Galar Mine decks, which increase retreat cost. So it could be interesting, although there is a VMAX I didn't realise. So he does max toxin 10 damage for a darkness and colourless. Your opponent's active Pokemon is now poisoned. During Pokemon checkup, put 12 damage counters on that Pokemon instead of 1. Now I know most people switch out of poison or get around it some way just because it's quite annoying just having damage stacking up on you. I don't know how realistic this is going to be. Again, I think it's going to be in one of those retreat decks where the air balloons don't work because of Galar Mine and stuff. I could definitely see this working, especially with a lot of switch stuff like Escape Rope and bringing up different things into the active boss's orders. It could be interesting. I would like to see if it works. At the minute, I'm sort of middle ground with this one. I don't think it's going to be anything special. Then we've got Quill Fish with the ability Burst Needle. If this Pokemon is your active Pokemon and is knocked out from... Yeah, that's just a worse version of something we've already seen. That's a pass. Survivor, which isn't great. We've got Spiritomb, which the last one was very good. So let's take a quick read. Ghostly Scream. Count the number of Pokemon cards in your opponent's discard pile. Put that many damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon in any way you like. Then your opponent shuffles all the Pokemon cards from their discard pile into their deck. That stops Mad Party. That's really rough. It doesn't really do much against other decks, but this will definitely be in Eternatus decks just in case anybody does play Mad Party, which this card single-handedly makes sure you're not going to. We've got Lipod V, ability Concealing Claw. Once during your turn, when you play this Pokemon from your hand to your bench, you may discard one Pokemon tool attached to any Pokemon in play. Now, I think that's incredible and expanded from removing stuff from Garbotoxin. I can't think of any Pokemon tools which are crucial to strategies in Standard, so I don't think we're going to see it played there. Although, again, it can fit easily into Eternatus decks where it needs to fill its bench with Darkness Pokemon. You're not really going to attack with it, but yeah, it's got a cool ability for what it is. We might see a drop in play of air balloons because of this and an increase in switch cards. Yeah, getting stranded. I think this would go well with the Galarian Vmax Slowking because you can obviously use Galar Mine, then you can remove their balloon to trap them in the active with poison. So there is a combination there. Then we've got the single strike Urshifu, just a stage 1. It's pretty good. Carnage Knuckle is very good for a 2 darkness and a colorless, 100 plus damage. If this Pokemon has any damage counters on it, this attack does 100 more. So you just need to find a way to get damage on it. And he's swinging for 200 a turn, which is unbelievable. Let's take a look at Metagross V. Bullet Punch, nobody's going to be using that. Synchro Hammer does, for a metal and colorless, 60 plus damage. If the Pokemon and the defending Pokemon have the same number of energy attached, it does 150. Considering 2 attached attack is the most common currently, that's actually a pretty good attack. 150 is nothing to... It's not a 2-hit knockout on most stuff, but it's good damage anyway. The Vmax is where it really gets good. It's got 330 HP, which is huge. It's got Magnetic Pull. Search your deck for up to 2 cards and put them into your hand, which is good for consistency. And then it's got Gmax Rush for 2 attachments, metal and colorless. 100 damage. During your next turn, this does 150 more. You hit them for 100, next turn you hit them for 250. Guaranteed knockout on every Pokemon. But it's one of those things again, if they can switch you out, this is a terrible attack. And it's again relying on what your opponent can do rather than what you can do. So it's a downvote for me, unfortunately. I do love Metagross and it's a tanky boy, but yeah, I can't see this being used. Then next up, I've skipped through quite a few because there are a few stinkers. We've got Blissy V. Ability Natural Cure. Whenever you attach an energy from your hand to this Pokemon, remove all special conditions from this Pokemon. That's really good. For 1 colorless, so this can be splashed into any deck. It does 10 damage. This attack does 30 more for each energy attached to this Pokemon. After doing damage, you may attach up to 3 energies from your discard pile to this Pokemon. So this is a great way to get energy back in play. And it could be used in those Wheezing decks we spoke about before where you need a lot of darkness energy. It could be used in just decks where you need your energy back or you run energy switch. You can use it to bring it in and then switch it around. I should note this is a V with 250 HP. So with a charm on it, or it's not single strike, so we can't use anything there. A charm anyway, we could get to 280. We're almost at Vmax HP. So this is going to be a super durable V. It's got weakness to fighting, which isn't great currently, but it's nice to splash into a deck, and I do think we may see some play from this. Let's take a look at Keck Leon, because that's normally got something interesting. It's got the ability Colourful Change. This Pokemon is the same type as a basic energy attached to it. So it can become a double type, it says as well, if it's got 2 different types of energy. It is Rapid Strike as well, so I actually do really like this. It's a basic Pokemon. It does need 3 attachments, but we can use Rapid Strike to make it 2. It only does 90 damage, but that is a knockout on Crobats, Crickettunes, Dedenes. There's not many Vs it could knock out. They're normally like 2, 210. I think Victini, no, it wouldn't, 180. So just out of range of Victini. But it's a great tech into a deck again. This can go into a lot of decks, like definitely in Rapid Strike. I expect to see this in Urshifu, or Urshifu Dragapult, I should say, where there's a few different energy types. It just makes it so you've got a single prize attacker, get around Decidueye, take easy prizes without wasting your V and Vmaxes. Super versatile card, as Keck Leon always is. Then next up we've got Tornadus V. So Blow Through is terrible. Blast Hammer does 180 and then discard an energy. You need 4 energy to use it, so that's a no-go as well. Then we've got Tornadus VMAX. So it's got 320 HP, which is good. Blast Wind does 60, terrible. Max Fujin, 120 plus damage for 4 energy. If there is a Stadium card in play, it does 120 more, then discard it, so 240. Not bad. Potentially you're doing 120 and then next turn dropping a Stadium for the knockout on any VMAX Pokemon. The 4 energy does mean it's probably going to be played with stuff like Frostmoth or Rillaboom. Otherwise I can't really see this working. It does mean you need to run quite a few Stadiums as well, just so you can keep taking that extra damage, but I don't think it's that difficult to do, honestly. Because of its weakness to Lightning, which I do think takes a massive hit in the current game, I do kind of like it. It resists fighting as well. I would love to see this work. 4 energy puts me off it slightly, but if people can get it going, it's a thumbs up from me. I do like Tornadus, and it should add something different to the metagame currently. I would love to see a Rillaboom Tornadus deck. I think Rillaboom's super cool. So, Greedent has the ability Brazen Tail. Prevent all effects of your opponent's item and supporter cards that would discard energy from your Pokemon, or return energy from your Pokemon to your hand or deck. Hammers, if you've played online at all, have been in pretty much every deck. Fan of Waves is in a lot of decks. I kind of think we might see this. We either see this, or just by it existing, we see a reduce in Hammers, which would be a good thing. I do think Hammers are sort of a crutch for players at the minute. Anyone that doesn't know what to fit in their deck, they just throw Hammers into it. But that is the final Pokemon, so let's take a look at some of the trainers. So first up, we've got my favorite Elite 4 member of all time, Agatha. Move up to 3 damage counters from your active Pokemon to your opponents. So basically, you heal 3, add 3 to them. It's kind of good. It is a supporter. It would be broken as an item. So I don't know. I think in some decks we could see this used. It's going to be very specific decks, though, that don't need to play supporter for the turn, so it's going to be a late game thing. I was thinking of running a Dragapult deck with... There is a Stadium which stops abilities, so I wasn't going to run Crobats and stuff. My plan was to run Minchinos with the Make Do, and then obviously I could use stuff like this. Got Crickettunes and Rose Towers as well, just to make it more consistent and also to reduce my opponent's ability to draw cards. So this might be a card I use in that. Next up, we've got Avery. Draw 3 cards, then your opponent discards their bench Pokemon until they have 3. It's good against Eternatus, and maybe a tech in some decks. In Dragapult, for example, where Eternatus just runs through you. Otherwise, it's not great. You don't want to make them discard stuff because they're going to get rid of Crobats and Dedenes where you can take easy knockouts. This is almost a don't use card for me. Next up, we've got the Rapid Strike Brawley. So it searches your deck for up to 3 Rapid Strike basic Pokemon and put them onto your bench, then shuffle your deck. I do think with all the Rapid Strike support we've seen in this set and the current cards we've got for it, Octillery, Urshifu, this may be a 2 of in some decks. Super easy to set up with, maybe even more than 2. I think once you've played it, you don't really need more copies, but it does say basic Pokemon and they go to your bench, so... Yeah, you can search out your Urshifus and Remoraid's and stuff early on, which is really useful. And I assume some Pokemon from this set as well. Then we've got Caitlin. Put as many cards from your deck as you like on the bottom of your deck in any order. Then draw a card for each card you put on the bottom of your deck. It's almost like Marnie and yourself. but you could do it for more cards. You could potentially do it for less, depending when you play it. I have had hands where my hand is just full of cards, more cards than I need, and this would be amazing to cycle through your deck with. So I'm going to give this a thumbs up. It's just in the right scenario when you need it, and it depends what kind of deck you play. If you play a deck where you can keep drawing cards, like Minchino's Make Do, where you get extra cards, this could be viable. We've then got Crushing Gloves. So it's a Pokemon tool. It does 30 more damage to your opponent's active metal. I don't really like these where it's focused on if your opponent is this, do this, because the majority of the time there's not going to be a lot of metal decks around now. Zacian might be splashed into stuff just to draw cards, but other than that, I can't see metal being that prominent anymore, so not a great item. We've then got Doctor, which draws 2 cards. If your opponent's active Pokemon is a Pokemon VMAX, draw 2 more. To draw 4 cards, basically. Once they've evolved anyway. Not a great card. Not a fan of that one. Diner Tree Hill. Ooh. Pokemon in play, both yours and your opponent's can't be healed. I was thinking of running this in a few decks just because of a lot of decks have healing, a lot of fire decks like Cinderace, a lot of regular decks like Snorlax. What else? Orbeetle, obviously. Just a ton of decks run heals. There's Gardevoir. So this could potentially put an end to some of those decks. So I do think stuff like Gardevoir, the decks I mentioned, Snorlax and other things, will have to run 4 of for stadiums or cards which remove stadiums, because otherwise this is going to absolutely ruin their decks. I don't know how many decks will honestly play it though. It depends on what you're playing, honestly. So let's skip forward to Echoing Horn. It's a Rapid Strike card again, but a basic Pokemon from your opponent's discard pile onto their bench. There is a lot of support for Rapid Strike. I think, other than Calyrex, probably going to be the prominent deck coming out of Chilling Reign, but we will take a look at that in another video if you do want to know the best decks to play. Expedition Uniform, look at the bottom 3 cards from your deck and place them on the top of your deck in any order. So this is good after you've Marnied. A good consistency card, which could see some play depending what you need from your deck. So if you've got like a vital strategy, which is a handful of cards, this could be a good consistency card for that. Then again, we've got the Fire Resistant Gloves, which does the same but against fire Pokemon. We've got Flannery, which choose a special energy card attached to one of your opponent's Pokemon and any stadium card in play and discard them. We could see this played in those healing decks I mentioned, because not only does it get rid of energy, it gets rid of stadiums, so you don't have to waste yours clearing. Then we've got Fog Crystal. Search your deck for either a basic Psychic Pokemon or Psychic Energy, reveal it and put it into your hand. I think this is going to be a 4 of in most Psychic decks. Searching out energy or Pokemon is always good. It's got to be a basic, which is the only drawback, but it does let you get set up easy. I'm definitely going to be playing this. I think if you can get Fog Crystals, hold on to them. Whether you're playing Psychic or not, at some point you probably will, and these will be super useful. I realise we've gone past 133. It must have been 133 Pokemon maybe. So Galarian Breastplate. If the Pokemon this card attached to has Galarian in its name, it takes 30 less damage. This is going to be used for sure. It's a great item for... It's going to be used for sure. I can't think of any Pokemon. I was going to say Calyrex, but they're not Galarian. They're just from that area. Zapdos probably is going to be the biggest one for this. Honey, draw a card for each of your Pokemon V on your opponent's bench. It's a supporter, so it's not great. Justified Gloves again for darkness, similar stuff. Karen's Conviction. During this turn, your single strike Pokemon's attacks do 20 more damage to your active Pokemon for each prize card already taken. This is going to be played in single strike decks for sure. Probably a few copies, because that is super powerful, especially in the late game. That is just going to dominate. Then we've got Clara. Choose up to 2 Pokemon and 2 basic energy from your discard. Show them to your opponent and put them into your hand. Into your hand? Okay. That's incredible. That probably will see a one-of in some decks where they need to recover stuff. Melanie, attach a water energy from your discard pile to one of your Pokemon V. Then draw 4 cards. Actually, I do quite like this. In the late game for water decks, bringing energy back, but also drawing cards. I could see this being played, for sure. Probably a few copies. I don't know if you can hear those birds outside, but they're going crazy. Then we've got Old Cemetery. When a player attaches an energy card from their hand to one of their Pokemon, put 2 damage counters on that Pokemon. This stadium stays in play when you play it, Discard it if another comes in. Oh, it's just regular stadium stuff. That is going to be super annoying. This is the big stadium though, Path to the Peak. Each player's Pokemon in play with a rule box has no abilities. So goodbye to Crobats, Dedenes, Crickettunes. This is, I mean, Calyrex. There's a ton of stuff this just absolutely destroys. So it's going to come back to the format where there is control decks, and this is going to be the card. Yeah, this is going to be such a powerful card. And then we've got Peony and Peony. Oh, they're both the same, just different spellings. One says choose up to 3 of your prize cards and put them into your hand. Oh, so you can sort of pick your prize cards. For those decks that run one-ofs, this might actually be played. And then this one says discard your hand and search your deck for up to 2 trainer cards, reveal them and put them into your hand. I can't imagine when you're going to want to do that, honestly. We've got a few other things. We've got Flying Suplex for Rapid Strike Pokemon, 10 plus damage. This attack does 50 more damage for each energy attached to your... I don't really like that one, honestly. We're going to skip that one. Although it is lightning energy, so you could use it with Zeraora. I think he's Rapid Strike. We've got Rugged Helmet. So you can choose an energy attached to the attacking Pokemon and return it to their hand. Great for those control decks. Again, there is a lot of stuff giving control a massive helping hand in this format. We've got Seabold. Choose up to 2 of your Rapid Strike Pokemon in play and heal them 60 each. It's not bad. It's like a double Pokemon Center Lady. Single Strike Scroll. So we are getting new scrolls every set, which I do really like. Overreach 120. This attack's damage isn't affected by weakness, resistance, or other effects. That's okay. Then to finish up, we've got Welcoming Lantern. Choose a single strike supporter from your discard and put it in your hand. It's an item, so super valuable, especially with some of the supporters we've seen. Then we've got 3 energies to finish us off, and then the secret rares. So the energies, Impact Energy. As long as it's attached to a Pokemon, this card provides every type of energy, so it's Aurora Energy basically, which does make some of these rapid and single strike Pokemon we've seen super viable. It also can't be poison, which does stop the Slowking we spoke about. Lucky Energy provides 1 colorless energy while attached to a Pokemon. If the Pokemon is card is damaged by an attack, draw 1 card. So yeah, that's kind of good. Spiral can only be attached to Rapid Strike. As long as this card is attached, provides every type of energy, provides 1 at a time, can't be paralyzed. So what's the other one? Single Strike. Yeah, so Single Strike and Rapid have their own Aurora Energy basically, which just makes those decks even more powerful. Coming out of Chilling Reign. That was my set review. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments below your favorite card from the set. I will be doing a breakdown of all the decks coming out of Chilling Reign, so make sure you subscribe for that. But I will catch you in the next one.